Hello everyone. These are the notes for Chapter 17, Section 1. It's called, What's the Beef Between Philip II and England? Also referred to as the Spanish Armada. Once again, this is Chapter 17, Section 1. And the image on the left is a portrait of King Philip II of Spain. And the image on the right is a portrait of Queen Elizabeth I. Let's start our story with King Philip II. As you can see, his dates here, 1556 to 1598. I'll never ask you those, but what I really want you to know is that King Philip II was from Spain, and he was very Catholic, as pretty much all of Spain was at this time. So he's a Catholic king that has Catholic views, and this plays into the whole story greatly. Now, what you see before you is a map of the European religions around 1600. Now, this slide is called Religious Issues, and religion had a big influence upon this whole section of the Spanish Armada. Now, what you see before you is, if you look at the key, you'll notice that Spain and Portugal are pretty much all Roman Catholic. A lot of Central Europe is as well. However, once you start getting to the north, they start getting into the different Protestant religions, as we talked about before with Martin Luther starting it. And so I want you to pay particular attention to where the red is, and that's referred to as the Spanish Netherlands. Now, at this time, the area where the Netherlands is was part of a dominion of Spain. And so you had some Catholics in the Netherlands, and you also had, particularly in the northern part, you had Calvinists or Protestants there as well. And you might have heard me say before, if not, this whole idea of Catholics versus Protestants really started to take hold here. It's like oil and vinegar, or oil and water. They just don't mix together. And so you have this whole situation where you have Catholic Spain having dominion over, ruling over Spanish Netherlands, but there's some parts within it that are Protestant, and they don't like being ruled by a Catholic king. Also, there are political issues here as well. So the Netherlands, the Spanish Netherlands, the Protestants resented high taxes. Taxes equal money. And so they had to pay taxes to the Catholic king in Spain. So that also was a major issue at this point, so the religious and the political as well. So continuing on with the political issues concerning Spain and the Netherlands, what the people in the Netherlands, particularly the northern part, the Protestants, wanted was to break away, to rebel against the Spanish rule of King Philip II. And this is based upon the taxes and religion as well. So there were problems within the Spanish Empire, if you will, in Europe, and that was the Spanish Netherlands. The northern part wanted to break away from rule of Spain. Now, trouble began with England, with Spain and the English Queen Elizabeth I. As you can see here, the portrait on the left, that's an image of Queen Elizabeth I. Now, there's a Queen Elizabeth today. Obviously, it's not the same one. Today, it's Queen Elizabeth II. However, this was the first Queen Elizabeth I. And so the issues were money and religion. Money and religion, as many wars at this time were based on. And this leads us into the British privateers. Now, privateering is the act of really sanctioned piracy, where these guys and others took pretty much gold from ships, in this case Spanish ships. They would actually board the ships, take them over, and plunder them, take all their resources, particularly the gold. And this obviously was bad blood between the two, between Britain and Spain. Over here on the right, on the left, you have Sir Francis Drake, who was probably the most famous privateer that there was, and you have actually his cousin on the right, John Hawkins. Once again, very famous privateers. Now, what is sanction? Sanction means that the government, the British government, Queen Elizabeth, said it was okay to do this. So it's okayed by the government, the British government, to stop ships, in this case Spanish ships, and plunder them. Okay? It's very close to piracy, but once again, the difference is that a government said it's okay. They're not doing it individually. And so, going along with this, the English wanted to back the Dutch rebels. Remember them in the Netherlands? The Protestants were trying to rebel against the Catholic king, okay, Spain. And so England, also a Protestant country, wanted the Dutch to rebel against, and help them rebel against the Catholic Spain. So what happened with this was something called the Spanish Armada. It's also referred to as the Invincible Armada. So the plan was for Spain, with 130 ships, would set out from Spain, along with the blessings of King Philip II, with about 20,000 men, about 24,000 cannons, and about 124,000 cannonballs. You don't need to know that stuff, but maybe just the 130 ships. And the plan was very simple. They were going to go up to England, and they're going to go to the Netherlands and stop the rebellion, and also silence really Britain for their role in backing the Protestant Dutch. And so, as you can see here, the battle, which lasted from July to August in 1588, set out from Spain. As you can see from the map here on the right, they started to come up and go into what's called the English Channel, and that's by the Netherlands, okay? And it's in the English Channel that they met the English ships. Now, the English had about 150 ships. Now, this is the key, this is the difference. They were smaller, quicker, and more maneuverable. And they also, the British ships also had a greater firing capacity. In other words, it was a 10-to-1 ratio. What that means is, for every 10 times that the English could fire their cannons, Spain could only fire 1. So it's a 10-to-1 ratio there. And so, as you can see here on this map in the English Channel, the Spanish were pretty beaten up, so they decide to continue on north up toward the Orkneys, which is in the northern part of Scotland, down across by the Shetland Isles, and then down south they were heading back to Spain. And it was at this time that something major happened, and that was something called the Protestant Gales. Let's take a look at that. The Protestant Gales, the gales are gale force winds, another high winds, a storm developed. And as you can see here, in this image here, the different battles going on here, but what happened off the coast of Ireland was this huge storm developed that really devastated the remaining ships of the Spanish Armada. It's referred to as Protestant because it favored the Protestants, i.e. England, Britain. And so it's nicknamed the Protestant Gales, this huge storm that sunk many, many ships. If you remember correctly, they had about 130 ships to begin with, the Spanish did. Only about 65 ever made it back to Spain again, so they got home. Everyone else was either lost in battle or because of the Protestant Gales. So who won? Who came out on top? Well, Britain did, as you can well imagine. Okay, one of the goals for Spain was to invade England in 1588. They didn't. And in fact, this is a very, very important battle, one of the most important naval battles of European history. And just to let you know, the last time England was actually invaded successfully was 1066, the Norman invasion of William, Duke of Normandy, comes over the English Channel and defeats the British in the Battle of Hastings. And so in 1066, they are invaded, and then that's it. From until this point, even today, they have never been invaded since then. In 1588, the Spanish tried it. The Germans, the Nazis in World War II, tried it as well. They did not succeed as well. So what are some of the results with the Spanish Armada? Well, as you can see here, the short-term result was, yeah, the Spanish could rebuild their fleet, their powerful fleet. That's fine. But the more important one is the long-term results. The long-term results resulted in that the Spanish influence, particularly in the New World, went down. Their naval superiority goes down over time. Therefore, also at this time, England's superiority starts to go up. So if you remember correctly, the two major European colonial powers to go into the New World, Spain and Portugal, had pretty much a monopoly on it. It was now over time, starting in the 1600s, that these two countries, their influence would start to go down, become weaker, and then who would emerge would be England and France, but particularly England, as we're going to be talking about. We've already talked about concerning Jamestown and so forth there. Okay, so those are the notes for Chapter 17, Section 1, the Spanish Armada.